Wolves, formidable and fearsome, excel as hunters, capable of delivering fatal blows with their mighty jaws. Yet, a pack found itself trapped in ice, requiring aid from a passing man. However, their astonishing and unbelievable act of gratitude towards him surpasses all expectations. Yuri was a middle-aged man who lived in the wilderness of Estonia. The forests were large and beautiful, and they were home to all kinds of animals. Through the middle of the forest ran the Parni River, a large stretch of water where countless salmon could swim. Yuri constantly counted his blessings for living in such a beautiful and scenic place, and he never took the land that he lived in for granted. Yuri pursued a livelihood as a hunter, venturing into the wilderness to ensnare and eliminate diverse animal species. His harvested prey, including their meat and pelts, found their way to the market for sale. However, Yuri's foremost responsibility lay in maintaining population balance. His crucial role involved preventing certain species from proliferating excessively and eradicating the smaller inhabitants of the Estonian forests. He loved wildlife and animals, but Yuri knew his job had to be done. Winter was coming. It got colder and colder as the days went by and ice started to appear on the ground. The days grew shorter and the nights longer, and before long, the Parni River started to freeze over. At first, it was only the very edges of the fast-moving body of water that were able to freeze, but as it got colder and colder, the icy water started to form that distinctive, thin, clear frozen coating. This was when it was at its most dangerous. The ice might have looked thick enough to walk on, but it wasn't very thick at all. If you were to step on it, there's a good chance you'd fall through and enter the freezing and still flowing water below. You would then get swept away, most likely to your death. Yuri was aware of such dangers, so he always did his best to avoid venturing anywhere near the stream when he was out hunting during the winter. But as he walked through the forest searching for the next animal to kill, he noticed 3 animal silhouettes stood in the middle of the frozen river. Yuri thought it was a strange thing to see indeed, because even animals knew the dangers of the thin ice and the freezing water below. As Yuri got closer to the river's frozen edge, his eyes went wide as he realized what the animals were: 3 tiny wolf cubs. They were stranded out in the middle of the ice. It was a miracle that they hadn't fallen through and to their death already. Now, Yuri had killed many wolves in his lifetime, but that was to control populations and not through any ill will towards the animals, and he certainly didn't want to see any harm come to these 3 beautiful yet scared cubs. So Yuri made a snap decision. He waded into the freezing water, breaking the thin ice as he went. Luckily, the river wasn't too deep at that point, and the water only came up to his chest. Still, it was icy cold, and it took his breath away with every step he took. But Yuri kept on going as he knew he had to rescue the cubs. The mother wolf was likely closely keeping an eye on her cubs and the man wading through the water towards them. She may be angry, but Yuri made a point of never killing a wolf if it was with its children. Yuri made it to the baby wolves and scooped them up before carrying them back to the shore. They were quite still and docile, which their rescuer found quite odd. Physically, they seemed unharmed, but Yuri wanted to take them to the vets just to be checked. The vet checked out the cubs and found them all to have low blood pressure, which explained why they were so quiet and docile. He gave them each some medication and insisted that they were kept in for observation overnight before being returned to their mother in the forest the next day. Before they were returned home and released from their cage, the vet implanted them with small GPS tracking chips. This would allow them to keep an eye on the cubs' movements, as well as get a better idea of how these wild animals behaved. As Yuri opened the cage to let them run free, they all looked at the hunter and bowed their heads as if to thank him. They then scammed off in search of their mother, who was undoubtedly nearby somewhere. Still, Yuri didn't think too much of it and carried on with his life. The wolf cubs found their mother, and she excitedly licked them and greeted them. It was clear she had missed her children being around and had worried for their safety when they had gone missing. As they stalked off deep into the woods again, the cubs looked back one last time, hoping to see their savior once more, but he was long gone. Many years passed, and Yuri found himself deep in the forest, stalking through the trees and the snow. He had never given much thought to the incident with the wolf cubs save for the odd occasion when he would venture near the river and walk past the place where he had waded into the icy water. Besides, he had no time to think about things like that, especially when he had a job to do and a snowstorm was rolling in too. He needed to find a deer to kill and take home for the next few days, meals, but the snow was falling thick and fast, and the wind was really starting to pick up. Yuri could see nothing but white, and his fingers were so cold he could barely feel them. For hours, Yuri wandered through the forest, hoping to find his way back to his home, but the storm got worse and worse and the hunter lost his way. His body was shaking with cold, and he was finding it difficult to walk. Yuri began to lose hope. There was no way out. Why did he come into the forest when the weather was so bad? He tripped and landed hard on the floor, but this time he was too cold to stand again. Yuri was numb and couldn't feel anything. He shook violently and thought that he was sure to die, but out of the white snow appeared 3 silhouettes. Yuri shut his eyes. He was resigned to his fate and thought he would die right there on that spot. But as he lay there with his eyes closed, he felt 3 animals sit down next to him and lay over his body, providing him with some warmth. As they lay there, he began to regain feeling and could feel warm fur against him, like some kind of blanket. He fell asleep, his head swimming with questions and thoughts. Several hours passed and the storm finally moved on. Yi awoke with a start to find himself all alone again, but he didn't feel too cold. He looked around to see 3 wolves sat nearby. He instantly recognized them by their unique and beautiful markings. They were the same wolves that he had saved from the river all those years ago. Yuri reached out his hand and each of the wolves allowed him to stroke their heads, seeming to enjoy the affectionate contact. The wolves had remembered Yuri and recognized his scent as he was walking through the forest. They understood that he was in trouble and repaid his kindness in their own way by laying down over him and sharing their body heat with the man. Had the wolves not appeared, Yuri's fate would have surely ended in tragedy, painting a much bleaker picture. However, their timely intervention not only saved his life, but also bestowed upon Yuri a newfound reverence for animals and the natural world. Consequently, Yuri's hunting endeavors diminished significantly. He sought alternative methods of population control, such as segregation or relocating animals to different forests across Estonia. Occasionally, during his walks through the enchanting woods, Yuri would be accompanied by 3 wolves. Each time, a smile would grace his face, his heart brimming with respect and gratitude toward the creatures that had aided him in surviving another day. Now, shifting the focus to you, we invite you to reflect on this incredible story. What are your thoughts on wolves? How would you react if they reciprocated your kindness in the same remarkable manner as they did for Yuri? We always cherish hearing from you, so please feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below.